Hello there, and welcome to today's session here with us from NodeGraph. With me, I have Oscar.
Hi there.
One of the founders of NodeGraph. And my name is Carl, and I'm acting as head of sales. Hopefully, these couple of minutes will be very beneficial for you, and that you will learn something new about unit and regression testing, and also about NodeGraph. The agenda for today. We intend to make the agenda very short, but we will talk a little bit about NodeGraph and tell you about the NodeGraph story. We will introduce you to the entire platform, and then Oscar is going to do a presentation and a demo of the tool. And when that's done, I will address a little bit if you want to move along with this solution that we do have. And I would also like to mention that Q's and A's we can take on the fly, so to say. Great, so are you ready, Oscar?
Yeah, more than ever.
Perfect. So I will just take a couple of, hard facts about NodeGraph and who we are. We are a company that was founded in 2016. We're based in Sweden. We currently do have 190 customers running NodeGraph, so we are super proud of that, right, Oscar?
Yeah, for sure.
Actually, what we are seeing an exponential growth in the customer base, but still, we need to be very, very humble to this, and we would be nothing without our partners and customers around there out in the world. We also would like to say that we are present in 20 markets, but the main focus is Europe and the US. And also, we are very proud to say that we are a Qlik technology partner since 2017. With that said, this was only the hard facts, Oscar. So I would like you to elaborate a little bit more about why we do what we do. And
yeah, sure, absolutely. So, when we started off with working with BI and Qlik like 10 years ago, 10 plus years ago actually, it was very different to what BI and Qlik in particular is working today. Back then, when we did the sales with Qlik, typical customer would be directly the business, so to maybe a CFO or a controller, and very often it was even the IT department was not even part of the decision of buying Qlik. And also what that means is when it comes to uptime of Qlik or when it comes to the data quality of your Qlik solution, it wasn't really that important. So when the CFO called me like, hey Oscar, our sales dashboard is not working today, it was more like a high five situation, and it was not a big deal. We hooked on to remote desktop, we fixed the dashboard, and everything was all good. But the last 10 years, we've seen a shift when it comes to the Qlik product, right? The product itself has become a more enterprise product. It's a way more enterprise-ready tool. We now have Qlik Sense as well. We have the end printing solution as part of the Qlik package. And what this means is that the Qlik product has moved away a bit from the business side and maybe moved a bit more towards IT. And also the user base within the customer has maybe gone from maybe 5 or 10 users within every company to maybe 500 or 5,000 users.
Of course.
So of course the demand of running a solution like this is way different to what it used to be in the beginning. So and what we saw, and I think it started maybe 5-6 years ago, is that there were a couple of gaps, as we see it, within the product, within the platform. We had the end printing part that was missing, that we now have. We have the map functionality, the GeoQlik, that was now part of the solution. But from the sort of development standpoint or the backend, when it comes to data lineage, know where your data come from, was very difficult to find that within the Qlik solution. So we saw a space there, and that's one of the reasons why we started NodeGraph. We saw that here's something we would like to address.
Great, thank you very much, Oscar, for that answer. Perfect. And we are talking a little bit about it right now. Just to view NodeGraph, what we were when we started this. Can you also agree that NodeGraph solution has developed from, so to say, a tool-based and add-on, and moving towards a platform thinking. If you want to elaborate a little bit more about that, and I mean how we position the product right now, and perhaps a little bit about the future and what we would like to do.
No, but absolutely. You know, when we started off NodeGraph, we were focusing on the lineage part and the automated documentation. Of course, that's a huge benefit with NodeGraph. You don't have to manually update your documentation, which is, I mean, for anyone out there doing development within Qlik, that's a huge benefit, right? But we started off with lineage, automated documentation. We then moved on to the data governance part, where you can actually, you know, get a very easy understanding of your Qlik solution and what's going on within the solution. And now, since we added our last module, which is focusing on data quality when it comes to regression testing and unit testing, now I would say that we're more of a platform, an add-on platform to Qlik, and the testing of your data. That's a super interesting area, and there have been initiatives before, but I think we have sort of, since we're working with these platform initiatives, I think it's very interesting.
Perfect. Thank you for that as well. And I mean, it's a very exciting future, right?
Yeah, for
sure. Perfect. And then, I mean, what's all of this session is all about? I mean, unit and regression testing. I mean, it sounds for me a little bit complicated, but I'm thinking, since I have you here, if you want to just elaborate a little bit more about what is unit and regression testing, and so to say, if you're working with NodeGraph today and you want to work as well with the unit and regression testing, what are the benefits, and how are we, so to say, thinking a little bit about the framework and everything around that? If that would be okay.
Right. Yeah. That was. I mean, that was a very open question, I think. But let's start off with what is unit and regression testing. Right? So we get that from the start. So regression testing is making sure that what used to work is still working, right, within your Qlik solution. And for instance, you know, the data in your solution should not change because you may make minor changes within your script, right? So if the sales amount used to be 15 million for 2015, it should still be 50 million after this new release, right? So that's the whole thing about regression testing. And traditionally within Qlik, we haven't really been speaking about testing that much. But now, I mean, testing is a vital part for every tech product out there. And this is what we would like to bring to the table. And the unit testing is, of course, you know, you can test small parts within your Qlik solution. For instance, in your Qlik Sense application, if I do the selection over here or the selection over here, this is the result I would like to see. And then instead of doing that manually, tell NodeGraph to do it, and then you're good.
Perfect. I think we have some minor technical issues with the screen sharing. So, well, I'm just looking here at the team behind me. Are we fixing that, or so the PowerPoint has so to say dropped out? Yeah. Hopefully, I will send out all the information about the slides and so on in the aftermath. But hopefully you can. So,
I think we can manage without.
Perfect. And then now, I mean, so to say, what do you believe is what is our approach to the framework? How should you work with testing?
But I know, you know, when you start showing our test module for unit and regression testing, I think it's a bit overwhelming, right? Because customers have been working with Qlik product for a long time. They have a lot of QVDs, of course, a lot of QlikView applications, a lot of Qlik Sense applications. And if you would start off, you know, setting up tests for all of these QVDs, that's quite boring, right? So the approach
takes a lot of time.
So the approach that we recommend is that you, identify your pain points, right? You always have a couple of ERP systems or source systems where you always have problems with the data, but start there and then add them as you go. So what we are trying to strive for is a test-driven development, if you like. So start small.
If something starts, you can identify if a field, so to say, is failing within a certain interval. Then you can start testing that field, so that would never change. Is that?
But exactly. That's a typical case. You know, this or for instance, this this field here, I would expect to see 5,000 customer IDs. That should never change.
Yeah.
All right, so add a test for that, and then you know.
Perfect.
It's correct.
Looking back here to the team, are we ready to start sharing the screen? Have we identified the problem? Okay, very exciting. So, do we have any questions so far? Or do you want to elaborate a bit more on this? I mean, we have
but
time now.
I think instead of showing the demo, since we don't have the computer with us today, we can just elaborate a bit on how we actually work with the test module. So the way we see it is that, like I said before, you will not be able to create all your test cases in one single shot, right? No. You will start building them up as you go. Yeah. So we have identified a framework for testing where we have a top level, which we call the test case. Yep. So a test case, and this is what I was supposed to demo today, but I'm gonna do it without.
That's the top level, right?
Yeah,
that's exactly. What you're.
So we identify a test case, which could be, for instance, our data warehouse. We have a problem that the data is not being updated. We have this weekly report coming out Monday morning. It's super important for our controllers around the world that the data is up to date.
Yeah, of course.
So before you had these test possibilities within NodeGraph, you'd probably have a person actually waking up early Monday morning. Yeah. This is not a job for you, but BI consultant maybe waking up really early Monday morning, go in, making sure that the data is up to date manually. Yeah. So now what we do is that we add a test case for this. We tell NodeGraph every Monday morning, 4 a.m., test this data. If it fails, NodeGraph can create actions. Okay. So most likely we'll tell NodeGraph to post to a Slack channel. Yep. So we get a to-do.
Are there other channels as well? So
absolutely. I mean, if you were working with email or whatever notification system you like, you can integrate that. But once you've done that, you can continue, and that's what we sort of saying we have a platform perspective on this, because once you have identified that you have a problem with using the test module, you can now move over to, for instance, the Dependency Explorer, where you can continue investigating, okay, which applications will be affected, which users will be affected. So what we would like to achieve is that we are proactively telling the users that today the data will not be up to date. So instead of having a user going in early Monday morning just to realize that the data is not up to date, we will tell the user continue sleep until we have fixed the problem. And the win, of course, is for the organization that trust the data. Because when you start having problem with the trust of your BI systems, then it takes a lot of energy to turn that around.
So you would like to say that this sort of say field unit and regression testing, I mean, it's more values and more benefits than just to look at it as a developing tool to test out new ideas. You would like to say that there are different values to different stakeholders as well? Is that?
Yeah, but I think it's very easy to say, and we have the same sort of challenge with our Dependency Explorer or lineage or documentation, because as you say, well, I see the value for the developers, but and also for the test module, but I think that's where we are a bit unlucky when we think, as we say in Sweden, because the real value is not for the developers, it's for the organization, because instead of trusting one single person knowing this solution, now you have an automated way of doing it. So the benefit of everything you do within your dev team is for the organization. Otherwise there's no purpose of doing it.
Coding itself, I mean, it's for to gain competitive advantage. This sort of say baseline with any BI tool is to get sort of say competitive advantage.
But that's what I would think, at least, right?
Yeah, and then NodeGraph would also be something like it would be positioning itself like an extra employee or something that can help out with the sort of say, I would not say boring task, but I mean also I'm thinking more like sort of say the base task that you should never sort of say worry that a field or a KPI is misleading or something.
Yeah, no, but exactly. I think you. Right there.
Perfect. I'm reaching out again to the broadcast team here at NodeGraph. Have you found the solution? Well, we can do this. I mean, there are a lot of people watching here, but if you want to have, so to say, we can take this as the initial talk to an introduction to test module. I mean, we are more than open to do personalized demos with everyone out there. And just send an email to sales@nodegraph.se, and then we all should be good to go. And of course, everything is live, so we cannot expect, couldn't expect that this would fail. We have tried it out a lot of times before, and of course, it will fail just its screen share. And I mean, yeah, hopefully you have had some valuable minutes here listening into us. And for next time, we need to sort out the technical issues. Or if we will do this later on this week, perhaps just having a showcase and broadcast of the... oh, and now I got a question here. Yeah, we can take that before we end off. I mean, the different types of tests, what can you do?
Yeah, that's a good question. And,
yeah.
And I mean, first of all, we have to establish what kind of files can we test, right?
Yep.
So you can test a QVD, QVW, and a QVF.
Yep.
And depending on what type of file you are testing, there will be different types of tests that you can do. So for a QVD, for instance, you have the basic tests like, does the QVD exist? What kind of fields do we have within this QVD?
Yeah.
You can do aggregation testing. For instance, the sum of this amount should be 15 million if I select year 2016, or a count, for instance. And of course, for QVF, for Qlik Sense applications, it's way more flexible. There you can start testing expressions and dimensions and things like that as well. So.
Perfect. Hopefully that was the answer to the question. And if you have more questions, I mean, send us an email, sales@nodegraph.se, and we will be there waiting for you. Of course, yeah. So unfortunately, we couldn't share the screen today. That was very, very unfortunate.
Next time.
So that something, it always happens something, and I mean, it's not that big of a deal, really. But for you who have been listening in, despite the technical issues,